Okay, we're going to try this again. We had a little technical difficulty there. It absolutely might be the weather out here. Like, I'll get back into this in a minute. This is absolutely insane, the weather that is on the West Coast right now. Very Big Ten-like, though. So I guess this is what USC signed up for when they left the Pac-12, when the Pac-12 dissolved and the USC ended up going to the Big Ten. This is Big Ten weather. So that is what we're dealing with out here, and it is bad. Like, I say bad. I mean, it's typical rainstorm that you would get anywhere else, but I don't think West Coast is really normally used to this. So going to be very interesting in the Coliseum, and that is one of the games that we do have up and available for you at Lance's Lock today. We've got 9 plays. We've got 8 sides. We've got 1 total. We had our first losing night in a week last night. We were 1-2. Unfortunately, we had that freaking under in the late game, the Oregon game, and unfortunately that game went over. Boy, I did not think Minnesota would come to play. They really didn't. They scored 13, but Oregon's offense, we talked about this. I thought, internally Oregon needed a little shot in the arm, and Dan Lanning and Will Stein needed to boost the confidence of that offense. And maybe they did that scoring the 42 on the Golden Gophers, but that thing did go, we gave it out at 44.5. It, full 10 points above, 55 total on that one. Oregon, gets the cover too, 42-13. Fun. I don't know if it was a fun game. Very interesting how many ways Louisville could completely dick up their season, or any shot at getting back in the ACC championship game was blown last night. Special teams awful, execution awful, clock management awful. Okay, so you guys jump on, and any questions or comments you've got from for Week 12 in college football, Week 11 in the NFL, sides, totals, player props. Again, we can get into all that. We have been killing it for you, though. Sans last night, the 1-2 night, some of those are going to happen. Just to let you know, a couple of things here. Going back to last night, we are 20-5, our last 25 free plays. So, that's still been awesome. 13-4 last 2 Saturdays. We are in college football. We dropped one, so 81-64 on the season, about 55% there. But still winning at a high clip. The NFL, 33-18 at 65%. We'll have a full card tomorrow available in the NFL. But everything is up right now. We do have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. Again, we have one in the early window, which, again, on West Coast is a little weird. 9 a.m. football, that's not normal to me, but an 11 o'clock kick back home. So there is one of those games available. Jump on, win with us. So we've got one in that window. Just going through it on the 230s. I think we got a handful of 230s. 1, 2, maybe it's more at night. 3 primetime games. We do have a late night game for you. 2 late night games, actually. We've got a side in TCU BYU. We've got a side in Boise and San Diego State. Texas, Georgia. I think that's the one a lot of people want to talk about, because this has been a weird movement on this number. I say weird. I think a lot of heavy, sharp money is coming in on the Texas Longhorns. And we do have a side on that. If you've listened to the next round this week, you know where I am on that game. But Georgia has dropped to a 4.5-point favorite. We have talked about this over the last 5 years. Teams outside of Alabama, Kirby Smart is 36-1, completely dominated that league outside of Alabama, and Texas included. Sark, last year 0-2 against Georgia. We kind of talked about this week. One of the biggest problems with Georgia this year, although they've only got 1 loss, is the ability to get to the quarterback. 13 sacks, or actually 11 sacks, which is worst in the SEC right now. And I think they had 13 total sacks in their 2 games against the Longhorns last year. So it's been a different defensive front for Glenn Schumann and Kirby Smart this year. Yeah, overall the defense is still pretty good. 24th scoring defense, giving up less than 20 points per game, but it just feels different for Georgia. And this game, to me, primetime game, Texas Georgia feels a lot different. Arch is playing at maybe not the level we thought Arch would play at. I think the expectations a little unrealistic for Arch coming into the season. He was basically, awful based on those expectations early on. But I think they've kind of figured out what they want to do with Arch. And I've talked about this. I think he's more playing point guard, but the last couple of games, they've scored 79 points. He's gone 300 plus and 3+ touchdowns in both of those games. So I think they've got the offense with a really, really dominant defense. They've got that figured out. Now, Sark hadn't been able to get us to the window, 2-9, his last 11 out. So we will see what happens here. I do think it is very interesting that Texas has a Georgia problem, but this number has dropped to 4.5. Joe, is there any way to watch, listen, and not stay in the X app? We are on YouTube right now, right? Yeah, we've got a YouTube channel, Joe. We would love if you would like, subscribe, Lance's Lock. You can jump on there and watch it like you consume the next round. So I know this is kind of a pain in the ass, and it's been inconsistent, and the time difference has been a little different, but we're working through it. We'll stay on here for another 15, 20 minutes or so. If you guys have any questions or comments, but yes, Joe, go to YouTube, like, subscribe. We would really appreciate that as we're trying to build that up and do more consistent broadcasts for you guys and talk more numbers. Hopefully this will evolve and, we can do some stuff, a couple of times a week once we get out of football, out of that window, and we can do college hoops in the NBA. So all about doing much more content for you guys, but we are up, ready to roll today. We've only got, it's crazy, 3 more weeks of college football, regular season-wise. That kind of sucks, but let's enjoy this not a bad card, an elimination Saturday again for potentially some teams. One of those early window games, Notre Dame Pitt. Pat Narduzzi kind of told us where they are, at least mentally, I guess, getting ready for this Notre Dame team that has won 7 consecutive games. They are red hot. I said this yesterday on the next round. I think this Notre Dame team is better than the Notre Dame team that played for the national championship last year. They are just rounding into it. CJ Carr is a better option at quarterback for Marcus Freeman. Their ability to run the football is second to none right now in college football. And during these 7 straight wins, plus 183 point margin. So they've been dominant. This is a big number. It's ticked up a little bit. I think the Narduzzi comments didn't help that. But, if Notre Dame was to lose this game, they're done, dead. At the end of this, their resume, outside of USC, and we'll see what SC does in the Coliseum today. But outside of SEC, not a lot of impressive wins for Notre Dame, more impressive losses when you go back to weeks 1 and 2 on the road against Miami, and then the 1-point loss to Texas A&M, who is undefeated right now and obviously number 3. But this number opened at 10. It's ticked up to 12.5. It got up to 13.5 in some shops. That's a massive number when you're talking about one of the best teams in the ACC in Pittsburgh in Heinz Field. Not that that really means any much because the ACC absolutely sucks. Okay, Joe's trying the YouTube. Good. Jump on there and let me know if that works for you, please. But we are up and available on both X and YouTube right now here at Lance's Lock, where we've got 9 plays available for you guys. Last 2 Saturdays, 13-4 against the number. We're going to continue that trend today with our 9 plays. And again, we've got 1 early play kicking off in the next 30 minutes. So any questions, comments, sides, totals, if you guys want to get into the NFL tomorrow, we're working on our card. We should have that up and available later today. A couple of games that I struck late. Let's see here. Indiana, I talked about this yesterday. I do think Cignetti is just one of these guys that each and every week he has got a new message to relay to his program on how they are going to become, not only establish themselves as an elite program, but maintain as an elite program, because you've heard it before, maybe even more difficult than building the brand. I don't know if somebody's jumped off a building, but even more important than building a brand is maintaining, or even more difficult than building the brand is maintaining. So we'll see if he is able to do that. But Kirk Cignetti, it's a different message each and every week out. You heard him last week before the Penn State game when he was asked, hey, you guys have never won here. They were 2-25 all time against Penn State going into that game. And he said, this team's never played here. And look, obviously not best effort, but they found a way to win that game. And Fernando Mendoza is still one of your favorites to win the Heisman, 26 passing touchdowns, tied with Sawyer Robertson for Baylor, first in the FBS right now. They got the number 2 scoring defense, only giving up 12 points a game, the number 1 scoring offense, almost 45 points per game. They're covering 6-3 against the number, their last 9 out. So Indiana is one of those teams that you typically can count on to at least give you an effort to try to get you to the window. This thing opened at 30.5. It's dipped down to 28.5. We had Wisconsin plus the double digits last week. And, really a great win for Luke Fickell as far as his first Big Ten win this year, last week at home in really shitty weather against Washington. We did have Wisconsin in that game. I do think that probably tank is empty, and I think Indiana's going to buzzsaw them today. But ended up staying away from it. I hate front loading those 11 o'clock games. Traditionally, they haven't been good to us, but that is one of the late scratches that I did take a look at. Some other games here. I'll tell you a really difficult game for me is Arkansas and LSU. I don't know where you guys are on this. I was asked the other night one game to stay away from, and I took it to the college board, the NFL board for week 11, but that Arkansas LSU game, sitting at LSU minus 4.5, really, really difficult game. Upset alert this week. If you watch us on the next round, we do that every Tuesday. I've got Georgia State, the Panthers at home against Marshall, who we had Marshall last week against James Madison. Marshall very, very much in that game deep into the fourth quarter. We did give them out. We almost gave out Georgia State this week plus 7.5. I just hate playing shitty teams. I've talked about it before. You've got this huge board and you try to identify, value. And I do think, and it's just hard. It's like an oxymoron saying that Georgia State is value sitting at 1-8, but I do think Georgia State is a value team today. That game kicking off at 3:00 and the Panthers catching 7.5. That was one I took a look at. I'll tell you another one I really wanted to play. If you haven't watched Drew Mestemaker play, the North Texas freshman quarterback, kid can play. Now, there is a chance, and we've talked about this, Eric Morris's head coach is going to get one of these jobs, and there's going to be so many jobs open in the cycle. Wherever Eric Morris goes, there is a good shot that Mestemaker goes. But Mestemaker in North Texas are in Birmingham today at Progressive. They're laying 17.5 on the road. That is not the direction I was going to go in this game. I was going to play over. It got up to almost 70. It might have hit 70 in some shops. It's sitting at 68.5. But that was one of those totals that I really, really took a hard look at it. Wanted to pull the trigger on it, ultimately didn't. One thing I guess need to address here, and you guys know this by now because I got a text last night when we were getting ready for dinner. Hey, the dispute between YouTube and ESPN is gone. And came downstairs, and there we had Clemson and Louisville on TV. So that's good news for most people. Now, a lot of people have already bailed on YouTube. You've cut the cord. But if you haven't, and you've been doing what I've done, these daily or weekly trials, you're back up on YouTube. So that's a good thing. Early in the week, I liked Duke a lot against number 19 Virginia, laying the 4.5. Last week, we had the over in the Duke-UConn game. Very entertaining game that Duke ended up losing there in Stores. I think this Duke team's pretty good. I mean, they're as good as anybody in the ACC right now. I think they're better than Virginia. Look, Tony Elliott's been a nice story in year 5, sitting at 8-2. Head-scratching loss if you go back to September against NC State. And then last week, just baffling what the ACC didn't do with the opportunities they had in front of them, with Virginia dropping their game at home and then Louisville losing to Cal. Just, crazy. Virginia losing to Robbie Ashford and Wake Forest. But I did like Duke early in the week. Ended up staying away from that. That number's just sat at 4.5 all week. Also took a nod at that total, 60.5, kind of like that over. Right there in the ACC, same window, North Carolina State and Miami. We've got a big play on that game. I'll leave it at that. If you've listened to the show this week, you know where we are on that. We do have 2 7-stars today. We've been very, very efficient on our 7 stars. Most of the time, we're pretty consistent with 5 or 4 out there. 4 kind of on the low end, 5 kind of a normal play for you guys. But we do have 2 7-stars available. And if you've listened to the next round this week, you probably know where we are on those 2 7-stars. Alabama and Oklahoma ended up staying away from this game. I like Oklahoma plus the points. I don't know why, because Oklahoma's offense is absolutely awful. It's atrocious right now. And I thought with Mateer coming in, this was going to be much better. I don't know if it's an injury or not. It's easy to blame it on the injury, but the fact is Mateer against non-SEC teams early on in the schedule, including Michigan, very good defense. Now the game was in Norman. He's completing 68% of his passes, 9 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. Against SEC, he's only completing 61% of his passes, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So the numbers are much different there, and this offense is stalled out. Now the defense, absolutely legitimate. 7th in scoring defense, only giving up 14 points per game. It's their first road trip to Tuscaloosa since 2003. This is interesting. So Oklahoma all-time against Alabama, 4-2-1 against the Tide. Oklahoma, one of 5 teams to play Bama at least 5 times and have a winning record. I think it's a scary game for Alabama. And even more, I think, terrifying for Alabama fans is sitting right now at 8-1 with no conference losses. They seem to be a lock. Alabama seems to be an absolute lock if you take care of business against Oklahoma or Auburn. But if you do drop this game, it's only a 6.5-point favorite. You've played out the scenario in your head if you're an Auburn or an Alabama fan. Alabama's got to roll into Jordan-Hare with an interim coach and DJ Durkin with 2 losses and the possibility of absorbing a 3rd loss to Auburn, who, it really would be the Super Bowl of their season. That is a scary proposition, especially the Auburn offense we saw last week. By far, not even close, the best output, 38 points, over 500 yards, their most total yards in an SEC game since 2019 against Mississippi State. That Auburn team can give Alabama fits in Jordan-Hare. So the last thing Alabama wants to do is drop this game against Oklahoma. And Oklahoma try to become the 3rd team over the last 15 years to beat the Tide in back-to-back years. Go back 2013 or 2014-15, Ole Miss and Hugh Freeze. And then the last couple of years, the Michigan Wolverines in the Rose Bowl semifinals 2 years ago. And then last year in the bowl game against Galen Milroe in this kind of weather that we're getting out here. So Oklahoma trying to make a little history there. And to me, this would be their 4th ranked win of the year. And this would be by far, in my opinion, although they beat Alabama 28-3 and kind of ruined Alabama's season last year in Norman, this would be by far the signature win for Brent Venables in year 5 there. And everything would be on the table for Oklahoma, if they are able to win out. And they've got Missouri at home and LSU at home, so they're going to be favored in both of those games. I mean, this game is just massive. It really is. And one of the reasons that I don't know if I'm going to sit 60 minutes in the rain in the Coliseum to watch Iowa and USC. We do have a play on that game. USC has been hovering 6.5 all week. It's 6.5 right now. The total is 48.5. Honestly, this is probably a really, really good under in this game. Like, I can't tell you how unprepared USC will be for this rain game. I mean, it just doesn't rain in the Coliseum like this, and it's been raining consistently for a couple of days now. Wet track, I think it always favors the underdog, in my opinion, and Iowa's ability to grind it out. Shaky run defense, 80th nationally right now for USC. And USC's offense the last 3 weeks hasn't been nearly as good as it was early this season. Still a really good offense, averaging right around 40 points per game, but wet track, legit Big Ten team coming in. Now, Iowa's 6-0 against unranked. They're 0-3 against ranked teams, so they don't have a quality win, but I do think they're a good, solid team, again, with a solid defense. Gronowski is a kid that can run the football. He's already got 12 rushing touchdowns on the season, which tied for 7th right now in the FBS amongst quarterbacks. So he is a guy that can get it done with his legs. We have a total in the North Carolina-Wake Forest game. Wait for it. One of the lowest totals that you will ever see in college football. That one kicking off at 5:30 on the CW. That total is 37.5 right now. We have a total on North Carolina and Wake Forest. And North Carolina still out there battling for bowl eligibility. And I do think that would sounds so ridiculous for a guy that's got 6 rings and Bill Belichick, but I think it would be a hell of an accomplishment if North Carolina was to get bowl eligible based on where they were in September to where they are right now. They are playing much better. We've got a big play late night tonight on Utah and Baylor. That game going off at, I think it goes off at 9 o'clock. ESPN2. This game continues to tick up. I mean, now we're looking at the Utes minus 9.5. If you watch the show, you know exactly where I am on that game. But this Utah team has become really, really impressive. Unfortunately for them, they've already got 2 Big 12 losses, both to the best teams in the Big 12 in Texas Tech and BYU. We also have a play late night, another late night game on TCU and BYU. We've got the side there in Provo. That has ticked down to 3. So BYU minus 3 over the Horned Frogs there. And then our late game, which goes off tonight at, what time is that? 9:30 CBS Sports Network. San Diego State hosting Boise State. Now, I'll tell you, Sean Lewis done a really good job with San Diego State, sitting at 7-2. What a disappointing season for Boise. After getting to the college football playoff last year, sitting at 6-3, I think coming into the weekend, a 2% chance to get back to the postseason or at least the college football playoff, which that's not going to happen. I still favor South Florida going to that game today. I think that is a full 10 points right now in Annapolis taking on Navy. Let me check that. It's down to 9.5. I like South Florida there. Another one of those 11 o'clock games I skipped out on. I know Blake Horvath was rested last week against Notre Dame. We had Notre Dame laying the points against Navy. Probably one of the reasons we got there. Nonetheless, we got there. But now Navy coming out in full strength today. They'll try to shorten this game against Byron Brown, who has been fantastic. For Alex Golesh, your fear there, if you're laying the 9.5 on the road, is the game getting shortened at the same time as Alex Golesh, one of these guys flirting for one of the open jobs. If he gets to the college football playoff, I think he is a lock to get one of these jobs. And kind of silly to say, it's based on that, but that's kind of the reality of the situation. So they do need to continue to win. I think they will. I think they'll win the American, and I think you will end up having an 11-2 South Florida in the college football playoff. And I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk for anybody who draws South Florida in the first round. But we'll see what they do here in just a couple of minutes. So we're going to stay on about another 5 minutes, get you guys ready for these 11 o'clock kicks, Central Time Zone, wherever you are, 12 o'clock in the East. If you're out here with us, 9 o'clock, again, not natural that football kicks off at 9 a.m. in the morning. Would much rather have a late game than one of these early games. And I'll tell you, there's got to be something about body clock and these kids having to go, from Berkeley all the way to Piscataway, or going from what's another example? Just some of the crazy travel right now in the Big Ten, where you've got Indiana going to Seattle. I mean, when you're talking about 2 or 3 time zones and kids that are used to playing at 11 o'clock have to get up and play at 9 o'clock, it is a little different. And, this game for Iowa, though, not really a body clock game because it'll kick off at 12:30 Iowa time. No, excuse me. Yeah, 2:30 Iowa time. It's going to be 12:30 in the Pacific time zone. So, look, again, we've got 9 plays up and available. The last 2 Saturdays, we've killed it. In college football, we're 81-64 overall, about a 55% clip. If you know the numbers, that's a pretty good roll right now. We're killing the NFL, 33-18, 65% there. We are 20-5. Our last 25 free plays for you guys. There's a free play up and available. We've got 2 7-stars. So really, really big plays right there. Jump on, enjoy those. And let's have a big day. Again, we've only got 3 more of these full college football Saturday cards. So let's win. Let's enjoy it. You guys be safe. Enjoy a great cocktail, and wherever you are, let's cash some tickets today. But we really appreciate you jumping on. If you have any questions or comments, how we can do this thing better, you can send us a direct message at any point, and we are working on, again, a more consistent, better product for you guys. But more importantly, let's have our first ever undefeated 9-0 Saturday, and then I can come on later tonight and bother you guys with that. So be safe, let's win, and we will talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today right here on Lance's Lock.